Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family.
Today is a great day for another It's the Bread story, but then I think every day is a great day to hear someone's testimony. The testimonies that others share always encourage me, and I believe will encourage you as well. My guest today is Mr. Randy Dyer. I first met Randy several months ago at our Bread Becker store. He was in the store with a friend, and he began to share a small part of his story with me. He expressed then how grateful he was that he had discovered the truth about real bread, whole grains, and the Ezekiel bread. His story touched my heart for sure. Then a few weeks ago, Randy attended one of our Getting Started classes. I was glad to reconnect with him as he shared a little more of his story with me that day. I knew then that Randy needed to share his testimony with you all. So today, I'm happy to introduce you to Mr. Randy Dyer. Randy, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on Sue's Healthy Minutes. You have such an unusual story that I know our listeners will need to hear and want to hear. But first, I always like to ask my guests a little bit about yourself. So where are you from? And give me a little bit of your background.
Well, Sue, thank you for having me today. And what a blessing it has been for me to get acquainted with Real Bread and in your ministry and friends that have involved, me in this process and it's just a healing for me. Yeah. And it's an overwhelming healing that I have experienced because of the Real Bread.
That's amazing.
I'm originally from North Georgia. I live in LJ now. I have been here about 30 years. We have a home just above LJ in the mountains, and I have I guess all of my life I've been in management. I've had plants that I have ran, and also I guess people business, and trying to be a good supervisor, a good manager. Make a difference in their lives. And I've always believed, that the most valuable asset that a company can have is their people. Yes. And I've always wanted to cause that shine to happen with them, and it made me eventually look better and better and better because of who I had to work with.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
So, Lindsay, I first met him in a work situation. I had changed jobs and was working for a company that he worked for, and we became friends. And then after that employment ended and I went in a different direction, we kind of lost contact with each other up till about a year ago. And during that year, about 9 months ago, Lindsay and his wife, Kathy, was introduced to the Real Bread concept, our ministry. I won't call it a concept. I'll call it a ministry.
It is. It really is a ministry as much as...
Well, it's a God-given blessing, Miss Sue, and I really can't explain the impact that it has done, for me adequately. But it has just been absolutely marvelous for me.
That is so great. So you first heard about Bread Beckers through Lindsay, your friend, about a year ago?
Yeah, it was about 9 months ago, actually. Okay. We've got reconnected about a year ago, and began to do some projects and some daily stuff. We're both retired now. Yeah. And so basically, you know, we've just reconnected our friendship, and his wife Kathy had heard about your ministry and Becker's and bread and all that through work, I believe. And on one of Lindsay's visits, he came up and he said, "Randy, I got something to talk to you about." And he said, "This is important." And that's how it actually began. We went out to my garage where we do a lot of projects and stuff, and that's where we're at today.
Oh, that's great.
And so he began to talk. And basically what he started out, he said, "I heard some preaching."
and I understand that Lindsay is here with you. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
He's sitting right here. And Lindsay, I can't wait. We're going to share your story next on Sue's Healthy Minutes. So, but we're going to let Randy finish his story. But I know you're an integral part and you've got your own story to share. So I'm glad you've joined us today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So, all right. So you're in the garage and he's heard some preaching. I can't imagine who that preaching he heard.
Well, I'll tell you, he was so blessed, I guess is the best word, and overwhelmed by the message. Because Lindsay's been through some stuff too. He's had a couple of strokes. He's had a very significant 5 bypass surgery on his heart. And I'll let let him tell you that story later, or whenever y'all do another podcast or whatever. But he was so insistent on me listening to what he had heard.
Yeah.
And
was it the Real Bread, the Staff of Life video? Is that what it was?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And so
it's powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful.
Because it's the truth, and it's biblically and scientifically sound. That's, right. Yes.
Right. And so, through that conversation, and then later on, going and watching the video myself and just getting so blessed by it and overwhelmed by all the information and all the knowledge and all of the facts, of what real bread is and what the vitamins and the nutrients and, the application of it and everything about it, was just, more than just a lesson.
Yes.
You could feel ministry in it. And later on through that, Lindsay, he brought me a loaf of bread. They had already come down to your store in Woodstock, and they had supplied up, with a meal and the loaf, the USA loaf pans. I love them.
Oh yeah,
and all of the ingredients and the stuff that you use, to just basically make basic bread.
Yes, yeah,
and I still go back to that basic bread.
Yeah.
Anyway, he showed up one day. He had a red cookbook, and he had hard red, hard white, soft white. Had everything, a loaf pan and everything that I need, a couple of loaf pans, and everything that I needed, for us together to make my first loaf of bread.
Wow, that's a great friend.
And that was, like us again about 9 months ago. So I began as a part of my daily diet. And we kind of messed up, I'll be honest with you. We couldn't wait I could not wait until the bread cooled off enough like it's supposed to before I cut into it, because I was so excited about it,
Hey, I do that all the time, and I'm like, it's my loaf. If I mess it up, I don't care.
Well, Lindsay
is that hot bread.
Lindsay tried to get me to wait. He said, "You need to wait a little longer. You need to wait a little longer." And I said, "I can't. I got to try it." So anyway, we'd done that, and that was day one. About 9 months ago, and so after that, I go I've got some health problems or had some health problems, and like most people do, for my age or whatever. And I was taking medication, for high blood pressure, for cholesterol, for pre-diabetes, and all of this stuff.
Right.
And I actually had some heart problems too, which I'll talk a little bit about later. But there were several things, going on with my health that I just assumed that it was age.
Yes. We assume these things. We think they're just our lot in life.
I thought it was just time and gravity was what was getting me in the shape, that I was in. I mean, I just assumed that that's what everybody done whenever they get in their mid-60s.
Yeah.
But I began to eat the bread, and my blood work, I've got blood work every 6 months, lab work or whatever, for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Especially, since I turned 60 and started having everything, checked more on a better time schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was borderline everything. And there was nothing that would actually show up normal. They would, each part of it, that you go through on your blood workup.
Yeah.
Everything was, something about it, was less than normal or more than normal.
Right. Yeah.
Where it's not supposed to be. Well, 3 months into my finding the bread
journey.
My bread, that's a great way to put it. My bread journey, I had my regular 6-month blood work done. Well, my A1C actually went from 6.7 to 6.4. That was from the previous 6-month period.
Mm-hmm.
My glucose check went from always fasting around 145, 150 down to around 100. It was like 101.
Wow.
Which, I thought, well, my doctor, of course, I didn't really think about it being the bread at that time, with just being 3 months into it. And so anyway, she said, we're heading in the right direction. So she thought I was actually behaving on my eating habits.
Yeah.
Because she had me off of carbs.
Wow.
And everything, and taking medication, for pre-diabetes and cholesterol medicine. And my cholesterol, was up around 200 and all this other stuff. Well, during that visit, it was like 170.
Wow. Amazing.
And about 3 weeks ago, we're 9 months into my bread journey, and I get my blood work back, and for the first time since I've been watching it closely, my CBC entirely was normal. Everything, red blood cells, white blood cells, the whole workup is in the green. It's all normal.
That is amazing. Wow.
Never has happened before, Miss Becker. Never.
Wow.
My A1C was 5.8.
Wow.
Down from 6.4 in 9 months.
Wow.
The cholesterol total, 130.
Wow. So just continued to go down.
Yes. And it's just,
wow.
I talked to my doctor the last time, and I told her about the bread. And I told her, and I don't think she could fully appreciate what I was actually saying.
Yeah.
But there was definitely one thing: she could not deny the results of black and white paperwork in front of her.
Right. Exactly.
There was, and even the cholesterol that's supposed to be good is around 40 now, and it needs to be above 40. I think is what that number should be.
Yes, and most medical documentation will say that it takes a long time to get that HDL up. And yet we hear testimonies all the time.
Right. And I really believe, I'll have another set of blood work, in about 6 months. And I'm, for the first time in my life, I don't dread it. Yeah.
That is so great.
Because there's a different nature about everything now. And so
wow.
That's one of the health benefits that I have gained. And there's a little story too that I can tell. I've got a 40-year-old daughter. And I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't tell her age or whatever.
I know my daughter's not loving it when I tell her age now.
but I also have a granddaughter. And several years back, someone had told her about your ministry and your business and the stuff. And she actually went down and bought a Wonder Meal and bought a bread machine.
Wow.
And all the ingredients and stuff just because someone told my granddaughter had some digestive issues as a child. And she was told, that you need to feed her the bread.
Right.
And so she took it seriously and went and done that. I was in the middle of a real intense work career, and I didn't really fully realize. All I was told, is she's better,
Wow.
And I didn't realize at that point, all of the stuff that went behind, her bread journey.
Wow, that's amazing. You're like, it was right here, but it took a garage moment with Lindsay.
It did.
To get you on track.
Right. And,
wow, that's amazing. Now, you have another interesting testimony that I've never heard. You had a bout with COVID, correct?
I did. In July of 2020, my wife and myself were actually in the bed. We probably, if we'd have been able to get to an ER, we'd have probably wound up in the hospital.
Yeah.
We had a real tough bout, with the first round of COVID that went through. Wasn't a variant or whatever, but
right.
We got the full-blown case together of it. And we were basically in the bed for 2 weeks. At the end of that 2 weeks, we finally got medication, and we finally got on the road to recovery. And because of that episode with me, I got shingles.
Oh my goodness!
And they were just awful. And during that time, also about the time that the shingles went away, I got some type of a skin problem, with eczema or dermatitis or whatever, that I started having, patches of eczema on my arms, under my elbows, and some on my chest, and a couple places on my leg and my face and head. The worst part of it was the tips of my fingers. The skin thickened, and they would erupt into a wound.
Oh my goodness!
And especially if I worked a lot in the yard or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just a terrible. I think people have had cracks on their heels before, kind of similar to what was going on. With my fingertips. I went to 3 different doctors, 2 of the last ones being dermatologists or whatever. And I have tried salves and prescription medications, lotions, soaps, everything that you can think of, to battle this thing. And it just kept winning.
Wow.
I noticed, though, about, I'm going to say 5 months ago or so, maybe 6 months ago, something started happening to my skin. All of the places, the red, itchy patches, that was on my arms and my chest and my legs or whatever, they began to disappear.
Wow.
My fingertips had actually got to the point that I didn't even have really fingerprints that you could see anymore.
Oh my goodness.
Well, all of that stuff started going back normal. The skin, is started to be soft and subtle again, and I could see, fingerprints starting to develop and whatever, and all of those open wounds or whatever began to heal up, and I've actually, I've showed you a couple of times what my hands look like now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lindsay has seen them at its worst, and he sees them like I could show him right now what my fingertips look like.
Wow.
And they are healed, and I'm so thankful for that. And I really didn't connect what was going on with my skin until I reread and looked at the cookbook that's got the section in the front about vitamin E.
Yeah, you're talking about the red recipe collection.
Yes.
Whole article about vitamin E. Yes.
Right.
Wow.
And so everything that's in that section on vitamin E is precious to me. I even the part, I had a heart procedure back in November, and I really believe now it was because of the lack of vitamin A.
Vitamin A or vitamin E?
Well, vitamin E, promotes the vitamin A.
Right, it protects it, yeah.
And so I think I had a deficiency there, that probably, well, I would think, that it could have been prevented or whatever. So it was because of cells, causing AFib, in the pulmonary veins of my heart. And so, but anyway, my hands are better. My health is better. My digestive system is wonderful.
That's great.
It's just made such a difference for me.
Yeah. I don't think we could ever underestimate the importance of vitamin E. In fact, I think that article, the title is Needed by Every Cell. And what it does is it allows normal skin cell production. That's how vitamin E prevents scars, too. So that's an amazing story. And that was, nothing else had worked until you started doing the bread. And then in a few months... There's nothing I've done any differently. My heart doctor, about 6 years ago, he said, I want you to, I was like 340 pounds. Oh, wow.
I was wearing like 46 around the waist pants. And he wanted me to change my diet in a way, with medication and stuff, to where that I was losing about a pound a month because of dietary changes.
Yeah.
Portion size, calories, carbs, just the normal doctor advice that you would get. And so I started trying to do that or whatever, and it was an effort. It was a real challenge for me to do that. I've always been a big guy.
Yeah.
But, through trying to change my eating behavior or habits or whatever, and now that I'm on the bread, the bread has helped so much because it's so satisfying.
Yeah, it fills you up. Everybody goes, oh, if I ate this bread, I would be so fat. And I'm like, I
can eat that bread with a little bit of oatmeal of a morning, and I mean, I don't even think about food anymore.
Yeah.
It is so nutritious, and it is so filling, and it is so satisfying.
You lost 20 pounds.
And I've lost 20 pounds and not even tried. And
wow.
I weigh 240 pounds now, and I wear 38 around the waist.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And the words I like the best, without even trying.
Without even trying.
Yes, because it fills you up. It satisfies you. You don't crave the junk anymore, and you just eat real food.
No,
just
and it actually curbs that sweet tooth. My mom always said, you've got a sweet tooth. You need to control it. that is pretty much gone anymore. I might eat a candy bar every once in a while.
Yeah.
Or a piece of pie or cake or whatever at a birthday party or something like that. But on a daily basis, sugar is not even a part of it anymore.
Yeah. I think that people, carbs have gotten such a bad reputation. The simple carbs and the heavily sugared and white flour things, they're addictive. But when we go to real whole grains and the real bread, it's a slow digestion. And so it's this slow release of sugar and energy. So we stay satisfied. And
That's right.
People just don't realize that. And that was one of the first things I noticed. We didn't have a lot of candy and cookies and things like that and sodas. In fact, we really didn't keep any of them around the house before bread. But every now and then, I just would crave stuff, and that was one of the first things I noticed too, was I didn't crave it at all anymore.
Right.
It was amazing. So that is such a great testimony, because it's such a myth that bread will make you fat. Yes, the stuff in the store, yes, that is making America fat. I get it. But if you go to real whole grain, real carbohydrates, bread made from freshly milled flour, it's so satisfying and so nourishing to your body and gives your body the energy you need. I found I don't get the slumps either, like the slumps, unless I've had a particularly hard day. Yeah, but that's normal. Sure. That's the way we should be.
Yeah.
But, Jesus compared himself to bread, and he said, "He who comes to me shall be satisfied." And people knew what he was talking about. They knew that bread was satisfying and bread was filling in the day. So that's amazing. That's amazing. So do you have a favorite bread that you eat? Do You've mentioned Ezekiel bread to me before, and you've mentioned the basic bread dough. You just kind of stick with that.
Yep.
What other breads do you like, or grains? What's your favorite grain?
Well, I guess the hard red for me is really the most favorite.
Yeah.
And anything that spurs off of that, it makes even if you do the basic recipe or whatever, it makes the prettiest loaf of bread.
It does.
And Lindsay and me, we've really tried to make a beautiful, absolutely perfect loaf of Ezekiel bread. But and we did it artisan style, and actually made a couple of real pretty loaves of bread.
Oh, yay!
We used a Dutch oven and
it worked
it up that way, and it really. Because it's a heavier flour, I guess, because of all the ingredients and stuff in it or whatever.
Yeah, the beans and the non-gluten forming grains in there, they make it a little heavier. But so you're using the Ezekiel mixture of grains and beans in the basic recipe as your flour.
Yeah. Sometimes I do that, but most of the time, I'll just do the basic recipe or some kind of a variation off of it. Mm-hmm. And then I just use it a good bit, for my muffins and pancakes and whatever, to get some different tastes or make something. My wife loves the muffins. She loves the convenience of the muffins. She'll half one, throw it in the microwave for 15 seconds, put a little real butter on it.
Oh yeah.
And that's a favorite. That's a favorite kind of a lunchtime snack for her.
Yeah. And again, very, very satisfying. Just a regular, muffin is all you need of this. In fact, you just said she eats a half, and yet you go out, to these shops and coffee shops and stuff, and these muffins are gigantic. And you can never make a muffin that big out of freshly ground flour.
Well, now, honestly, I do use the big USA muffin pan.
Yeah.
And it does make a pretty good sized muffin. I let them puff up over the top, of the muffin pan whenever I'm cooking them or whatever. So, and it is a pretty good portion or whatever. And she'll eat both of them, before, throughout the day, maybe one around 10 o'clock, one around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or something like that,
Yeah.
But that's her favorite part, but most of the grain that goes into them is the hard bread.
Yeah. That's what I tell people. For 3 years, my first 3 years when I first started milling and making bread for my family, and I had 5 young children at the time, it had to be easy. And I only knew hard red. That's why in my red cookbook, you'll see hard red a lot, because
Right.
that's what I had. I didn't know about hard white. It came along later. But really, the first 3 years, it was all hard red. And I think it is a little more fibrous. So I think it's a little more effective for your digestion and your elimination.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I love it. I love the flavor of it. I still prefer it. And I think people are missing out that think that it might not, be suitable for their families that are used to white flour. I just think it's so nice.
And it's so easy to work with. I mean, you take just a few minutes, of preparation or whatever, and I've had to learn to be patient, for the rise time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it happens, and it's all. I mean, I know what it's going to do. I know exactly how it's going to act, and so, but I try to make it in advance, to where that I can't run out, because it's so important now, and it's a part of my everyday life now, that I prepare, for how much we're going to use and what's coming or whatever. So I'm afraid to do without it. I can't do without it.
You don't want to do without it. It's so delicious. And that's what the other thing I love. This is healthy food.
Yes, it is.
So delicious. You want to eat it. Like you said, your doctor wanted you to do this and do that. And that was hard to follow. But this is easy.
Yeah, this is so natural, and so it's just a part of life now.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's a part of life, and it should be. So, I get asked this question a lot. How much bread? People always say, how much bread should I eat? We're so medicinal minded and dosage minded, but this is just food. Just eat it as you enjoy it. So, how much bread do you eat? So you just said you can't do without it. So you do eat it every day. You always make sure you always have it.
Yeah, normally I'll start my day with it. About a normal sized loaf. In one of the loaf pans. I'll cut off about an inch of that bread. And my favorite is the end pieces. I like crumb, don't get me wrong, but I love the crust. I absolutely love it.
Oh, with some butter. Oh my goodness.
So about an inch of that, and then usually during the day sometime or whatever, I'll grab a muffin or something like that. And that is probably the best thing. Those two things is about what my portion is every day. And I try to, I don't have to try. That's just part of my everyday.
Yeah, that's what's nice. You don't have to try to do this. You want to do it.
Nope, you sure don't.
Yeah, yes. Well, it has been so great talking to you, and I'm just amazed. You've even shared some things that I didn't know about. But what a powerful thing, healing that God has done for you, and through His perfect provision. That's what I love, His perfect provision. So in closing, do you have any final words of encouragement? I know everybody's going to be so encouraged to hear your testimony, but do you have anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today before we close out?
Well, just truly, what a blessing, Miss Sue Becker, that you and the people that's involved in this has been to me, and what an impact, that it's made in my life. And if you're, all I can say is, if you have some problems, that you can't get a handle on, just try it. Find somebody or some way, to get some bread, the real bread, and just include it into your diet and try it. I mean, what have you got to lose?
Exactly. What have you got to lose? Yeah.
I really believe,
20 pounds.
Lindsay said 20 pounds.
There you go.
So, it's just, it's more than just food. It's so much more.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just bread. And to get those nutrients back in your body, and to experience, the healing and the power of that grain.
Yeah.
The whole grain.
Yeah.
And I do, I do use it fresh. I don't, after I mill it, it's whatever I mill, I use that day.
Yes, and that's important. Yes.
Because I don't want to lose those nutrients, and I know when you mill it, you start to lose some of that or whatever. And I want to get it. I mean, I'm to the point that I want its full effect.
Yes. Yes.
So all I can say is just give it a try. What have you got to lose?
Right. And there's so much nutritional deficiency in this country. We're probably the most abundantly fed country, but the most nutritionally lacking.
Yeah, sure.
There's only 3 vitamins that are slightly deficient in wheat, and that's vitamin A,
right,
vitamin C, and vitamin D. But vitamin A and C we can get with fruits and vegetables, and vitamin D we can get if we go outside on a pretty sunny day. Right. and the right kinds of fats and oils. So.
And that vitamin A that you're going to be getting from this real bread is going to let that vitamin A and D really excel in its performance.
Exactly, it protects it. So yes,
yes.
And and people that nutritionists and biochemists and doctors, their works that I have read over the years that aren't even talking about milling your own grain. They're talking about, treating disease, with vitamins and minerals and things like that. But it so amazes me that in every one of these books that I read, they all attribute the nutritional and health decline of America to when the bran and germs started being sifted away from our bread. And one heart doctor, he even says, we lost the vitamin E, and that was what's necessary for a good heart. And the scripture tells us that he gave man bread to strengthen and nourish the heart. I think that's Psalm 104. I don't have that in front of me right now, but, and heart disease is a big issue. So anyway. But, God's word in Revelation 12:11 tells us that we have an adversary. Right. That loves to stand before God night and day, it says, and he accuses us. But the word says that we overcome him by the blood of the Lamb. So we have to have Jesus, but the word of our testimony. And we remember what God has done for us, and we share that testimony. It empowers not only us, but also everyone who hears it to overcome. So, Mr. Dyer, I want to just thank you so much again for being willing to take the time out of your day to share your It's the Bread story, your testimony, because I know that your testimony is going to be used by God to encourage others. And I can't wait, Lindsay, to hear from you. So we're going to hear from you next time on Sue's Healthy Minutes. But until then, I just thank you all for listening. Until next time, this is Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with my friend Randy Dyer on Sue's Healthy Minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated, located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.